Hey, welcome to the new episode of Health Supplement Business Mastery. Today I have on a guest and good friend, Stefan Georgi. He's widely considered one of the best direct-to-consumer marketers and entrepreneurs in the world. He's generated billions of dollars in sales for his own companies and clients since 2011, and he has a proven track record of scaling businesses at an extraordinary pace, including taking two different companies from zero to over 100 million in a single year and growing his own supplement company to 23 million in its second year. Stefan, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Bobby. Appreciate it.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about growing a company from zero to over 100 million in a single year. That's really interesting.
Yeah, it's and it sounds very sexy, and it is. For both of those companies, they were very direct response heavy, VSL driven businesses. One was a Romanian publishing company doing offers on ClickBank, and this was 2013, 14. And it's not, I wasn't the person, I'm not the reason why, but they basically were pumping out offers and I was writing all the copy for them. And, they got to over 100 million in the first year. And the second time was with a former business partner who's still a friend and still active in the space with a very kind of behind the scenes and underneath the radar. And there's another supplement company, also pretty aggressive direct response type of stuff. And we just scaled really fast with a few very strong offers. On that one, we ran into some issues. One of the things we were doing was CBD before it became super mainstream. And I have had this problem throughout my career where I'm too early sometimes. Like I did a guide on, I went to do like a whole info product on Bitcoin in 2013, and I ended up never doing it. Probably would have done really well with it, but that's just like an example kind of where I can be early, I think sometimes. And same thing with CBD. I mean, it was great though. Honestly, we were doing, over 100,000 in revenue every single day. And then we had a like nail fungus offer doing over 100,000 revenue. And we were basically doing between 250,000 and 500,000 revenue every day. That's how you get to over 100 million. And so that was going really well. But then we ended up getting, our merchant processors freaked out about the CBD thing. They said it was fine. And then somebody, the banks had like a meeting and they're like, somebody told them, you're selling drugs or whatever it was. And they freaked out. And then they froze all of our funds and held a bunch of the money. And we had to try to fight to get it back, and didn't get a lot of it back actually. So it was a very painful lesson where I lost out on millions of dollars in profit that we had kind of made. But yeah, those were the two. And then, over the years I've helped companies. Like when I first met the guys at VShred, they were doing like 30 million, and really helped them with like VSLs and direct response marketing as they scaled to over 100 million. And, now they're over 200 million, helped Performance Golf and Donnie, who's one of the main partners there. And actually Brixton too, who's the original founder. I connected them at an event. And then, for my own brands, like the telemedicine company is one of the fastest going ones where I'm still, really have been part of it from the very beginning. And we did 20 million the first year. We were going to do over 100 million this year in the second year, but we actually intentionally slowed down for maximizing the EBITDA more because we were going to hopefully sell this year. So as of now, do somewhere north of 50 million for the year, but I do feel like that would have been another 100 million. And frankly, we still get tempted sometimes when our CPAs are looking really good, and we'll just see how the year ends out. But yeah, that's sort of broad overview of it. So yeah, I started, and it's kind of, and actually what I'm sharing there, and I won't just start rambling and dominate the conversation, Bobby, but it actually is kind of thematic to what you and I were talking about before we started recording, though, because I do feel like DR, direct response, and even direct to consumer has changed a lot. So the way to go from 0 to 100 10 years ago was, in some respects, it was a lot easier in that you just throw up VSLs, video sales letters, you just, get affiliates running traffic to it, maybe some of your own internal media buying too. And if it's really good copy and good offers, you're off to the races. And outside of maybe the top 10 people on ClickBank these days, that's not really the way it works anymore. It's also kind of a good representative of the changes in that back then I did much more kind of aggressive direct response stuff. And by aggressive, I just mean big claims, sometimes claims that weren't compliant, made up stories, things of of that nature, which, I had my own little reckoning about. I stopped doing it for the most part after by 2017, 2018, and then CoffeeZilla made a video about me, and I was like, "Right now, I'm really not going to do it anymore." And I had
Yeah, I
to come to
remember that.
Jesus.
I remember that
Yeah,
controversy.
had to come to Jesus about it. Yeah, I don't know. But the point today, like really, actually, in general, it's way easier to scale much more compliantly than it is to be really aggressive. Again, outside of those sort of top 10, top 20 people on ClickBank, like almost everybody I know who's doing, mid eight figures or beyond is fairly compliant. It's not perfectly compliant. It's still really hard to be perfectly compliant. And there's definitely still gray areas and things, but compared to where marketing was a decade ago, the vast majority of the big people are significantly cleaner than they were then.
Yeah, I think they were kind of forced to by the industry as the industry got more sophisticated, right? And everything is there with the payment processors as well is a good lesson, an indication of that. Not only the customer, but also the business aspect of the systems within the business itself. A lot has changed, but we still see really high cost per acquisition costs, right? Really just very competitive on a lot of channels for traffic. I mean, I feel like ClickBank is definitely a different kind of animal, and a more aggressive offers are there. It still work, I think. Would you agree on ClickBank?
I would, but from my understanding, and I was talking with one of the higher ups there maybe 2 months ago, and even they were saying that like a lot of the people who were mid-market type of players who would get like an offer and it would do pretty well, and they'd maybe make 10 million in revenue and $1 million, $2 million net profit, and be really happy. There's fewer of those people these days, and there's really just it's really dominated from what I understand by like a few kind of groups of people. There's a lot of Brazilians who are running extremely aggressive stuff like deep fakes and all of that who are doing well. There's a few other like Brad Howard tends to just keep chugging along and having winning offers on ClickBank, and he does, to his credit, he does it more clean and compliantly than almost all of his competition, and yet still manages to have high ranking offers up there. And then the Romanians, and there's a few other kind of groups, but it really is like a few groups of people pumping out a lot of offers, and it's really like a 95-5 rule, versus like an 80-20. And so, and then the other thing from what I understand is, it's gotten so competitive for those top 10 spots that the CPAs are extremely high. So everyone's really trying to maximize their average order value. Like a lot of them don't even offer a single bottle. If we're talking about a supplement offer, for example, it used to be like 136. Now it'll be like 2612, right? And that feels like they're just trying to do everything they can to get the AOV, the average order value, to back out. And so, but their margins are really thin. Like they get squeezed a lot on their margins. And so then the problem becomes, okay, well, you make it up on like the email list, right? But okay, emails aren't as profitable as they once were. They're not like terrible, but they're definitely not as profitable. And so I think the margins in general have gone down, and it's more of like a volume game, which is why they're pumping out all of these offers. And so, for those groups at the top, like it still seems to work and make sense. But for almost anybody else, I wouldn't really imagine or envision. If I was like new, I would couldn't I don't see a world where it would make sense to try and put up like that. It used to be that you could put up like a VSL on ClickBank, and if it like happened to catch fire, your whole life could change. You could make lots of money. I mean, if you look at like Emily Lark, and she had Back to Life, she still has Back to Life. Like she's a good example. She was super broke, like almost homeless. Back to Life's like a compliant offer. It's like her, on camera showing you stretches and things to bring your back to life. She built into like a 20 million a year business. Awesome woman, great story. There's Alex Miller who has that like P Leaks offer, but it's based on her story. I think does okay still, I think. But it used to be that there's a lot of those types of stories where someone could just throw up a offer and have it be like this banger and make life-changing money. And I think it's a lot more rare for that to happen on ClickBank now. So, which again is why a lot of people are pursuing different business models instead.
Yeah, the industry is definitely getting cleaned up. So, like back to regular sort of direct response, traditional, meta ads, uh, YouTube ads, etc. How has that changed over the years? Because you've been in the game a long time, so I'm sure you've seen a lot of changes. Like ClickBank is its own animal, right? It's a totally different beast, right?
Yeah.
Like you said, and it always was, and it sounds like it's really contracting. But I think in the broader sort of e-com D2C space, it's expanding.
Yeah, it's definitely, I agree with that for sure. It is really just more e-com focused with direct response elements, right?
Right.
There's really pure kind of e-com brands. Like if you look at like David protein bars, for example, they also raised money at a $725 million valuation, which I still don't really understand. I get it, they're buying like food companies and they're sort of like, we're a food tech company that happens to make protein bars. Like,
Well,
okay. But I'm like, it's like kind of like like it's inspiring in that if you tell the right story, like you could just go raise a ton of money still. So no shade from that perspective, but there's plenty of other kind of pure e-com brands, but most of the really pure e-com, and I'll kind of talk about what I mean. Pure e-com, I'm talking like, so a lot of UGC content, a lot of organic social stuff, a lot of influencer marketing, like really just goes to like a Shopify page that maybe just has a bunch of different SKUs. You click, it's a really basic product selection or the hero product. There's like a slider, some bullets, some more testimonials. Like it could be nicely designed. But that's sort of like really branded ecom. But when I see most of the people, at least in my universe, having success, it's taking D2C elements and marrying it with that pure ecom. And so like, what does that look like? It looks like, meta ads, like just tons of video ad creatives that might be almost like mini video sales letters, but they're like 2 minutes long. Maybe sometimes they're 3 to 7 minutes long. Then other people are testing even mini, like in feed, so Facebook ad video sales letters that may even be 20 plus minutes long or whatever it is, right?
Taking
So
the actual VSL and putting it as the ad like that. That was a big
yeah,
breakthrough maybe like 5-7 years ago, right?
yeah, for sure. And so some people still do that. Some people, it's like a 3 to 7 minute long ad that is like a mini VSL that then goes to another VSL. But for a lot of people, it's like short video ads, a lot of them, just testing hooks. By short, again, I mean maybe anywhere from a minute up to, on the long end, 6 to 7 minutes. And then it's going to like an advertorial that may be fairly lengthy, that's kind of educating the consumer and selling the product more. And then it goes to like the product page from there. And the product page, depending on how long everything else was, can be pretty short still. But video, I guess the video really gets used the most at the ad level with like Meta, from what I'm seeing. There's exceptions for sure, but for the most part, like so Miami MD does like skincare. They'll run a ton of video ads. They test a ton of hooks. Most of the time, they will still go to a VSL. It's like, okay, cool, that works for them. V-Shred and like Svelte are two really big D2C kind of health and fitness brands. Tons of video ads, often, I mean, ever from a minute to like 7 minutes. A lot of them are 4, 5, 6 minutes long. Go through like a quiz funnel, which leads you to a VSL. So VSL still can work, but a lot of people are doing video ad to advertorial to product page. And that's probably the easiest model in a way. It's simple, but then the challenge becomes there's new bottlenecks, right? So for so many people, the biggest bottlenecks aren't even really copy. It's like video production, video editing, like, things like that. And then even advertorials, you're testing a lot of advertorials. The product page kind of just stays the same. But really, yeah, a lot of the emphasis is really at that ad level with the length of the video ads, the hooks, and then again, just getting testimonials, getting UGC content. Like so that part's, it's like harder until you have it systematized at least. But the trade-off is, you're not sending them to like a 45-minute long VSL that they can't click out of. So yeah, it's definitely changed quite a bit.
Right. You're still doing like fundamentally the strategy is kind of the same, right? Because you're still doing a lot of the heavy lifting of the convincibility in the ad, which is longer video ad, and in the advertorial or pre-sale page, right, which is a longer form text page. Whereas back in the day, it used to be a VSL, right? So we taken the 20, 30-minute VSL and we just put it on the pre-sale and the ad level, and then just slapping an e-commerce on the back end with a PDP page, product detail page. So the strategy seems like it's been the same, right? It's just the execution is different, like I said, and that's kind of shifting the important things. But I think what's really happening, right, is we're seeing, like you mentioned, more of the direct response strategies and tactics in companies that never would have considered direct response before, probably as a result of rising CPAs, cost per acquisition costs. But I think what's also happening is the marketplace is getting way more sophisticated, right? Like you and I lived and breathed in VSLs, for 10 years, right? And the majority of the marketplace hasn't really seen a VSL, but now a lot of them have, so one, they're catching on to that level of awareness and sophistication. So I think the buyers are sort of getting elevated, and now as marketers, we have to almost rise above that to be even higher elevated, or to be more sophisticated in what we're and how we're selling.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with that whole assessment. I think a lot of people who had success even 5 years ago are struggling. Like, it's funny, if I do think the action is more on like X than on Facebook, for example. So like 5 years ago, a lot of people having success were on Facebook. Now all those same people, I don't really know that they're having a whole ton of success. And a huge reason why is I feel like a lot of them are just trying to use the same model they used 5 years ago, and it's like not working, and they're like resistant to change, right? They're not adapting or evolving. And that's a broad generalization. Of course, there are plenty of people who have also
sure
adopted, but a lot of them haven't. If I go on X, I see a lot of these kids in their like early 20s who plenty of them are full of it, I'm sure, but a lot of them are doing e-com stuff. They're drop shipping, whatever, and again, you take the good of the bad. There's all kinds of shade balls, especially because they're so young that they are probably doing dubious things without even realizing the broader implications of what they're doing. But there's also plenty of people who are like having a lot of success. And so, yeah, I mean, it's changed, and I think we have to adapt and continue to change with it. You can't, like, I'm not like this massive Ray Dalio fan, but he'll talk about like embracing reality and everything. And I just feel like I really take that lesson to heart, like, because you can always wish things were another way, but if they are the way they are, then all we can do is embrace reality and go forward with that. But then to your other point, the one other thing I was going to say there is, you're right in that's what's funny, right? A lot of things, the fundamentals haven't actually changed. Like I think I talked about this in RMBC2, which is like a new version. I mean, it's a brand new course I put out like a few weeks ago, but essentially it's like, you still have to educate and like sell somewhere, right? Like it's not that now you just do like a little static ad to like a little PDP that doesn't, and PDP meaning product page, kind of like a landing page, but for a specific product, for those watching who don't know what I'm referring to. And like, people are going to be like, well, okay, that sounds like it'll relieve my knee pain. I'm going to give you, here's $150, right? It doesn't really work that way. And you might get some sales, but going back to the economics and the CPA, it's very unlikely that enough people are going to make that decision that you'll actually, bring in more than you spend on ad costs and your hard costs at COGS and all these other things. And so, that's where it's like, again, video ad does some of the heavy lifting, right? Depending on your model and just even testing stuff, it's like maybe the video ad is fairly educational, right? Calls out the pain point, but really educates a lot. Goes to the advertorial. The advertorial is more educational, plus it transitions to speaking of the product and going through like the features and the benefits and kind of like building urgency and scarcity. And then by the time they get to the product page, it's like fairly short, couple hundred words, some testimonials, whatever. But it's really like a more of a wider disbursement or distribution of the messaging throughout more touch points on the funnel more often, whereas it may have been really concentrated before with everything in this long VSL. And all you do is, add to VSL. And I think part of it too is consumer habits changing. Like if you think about something like native advertising, right? You go to native, you see an ad from like around the web sponsored stories, and it's like Harvard MD's hearing loss breakthrough stuns people, whatever. I don't know, it's like like whatever, click on it. Like it always, like almost for a long time, like with native, like if you click on that ad, you'd almost always go to an advertorial. Like why would you go to an advertorial? Because where did you see the ad? You saw it on a news website, a sports website, like a weather website. You're there like reading articles and reading information. So it just made sense to go to like an advertorial. So now they read and now they're kind of sold. And now you hear about the video and you click the button, you go to like a video sales letter, right? That kind of made it always made sense. If you saw an ad, if I'm looking at the weather for where I live and I click on an ad and suddenly there's like a video screen and like some big headline and like no, other buttons except for like a flashing play button pulsing at me like a nightclub disco ball. And like, I'm like, like, what the hell is this? Right. And I kind of click out. And so that was always kind of true, like for native, but I think it's now true for more platforms because now people go on like, Meta more often for news, or they go on for like social things, right? Or Instagram, like they go to watch reels and watch content from influencers. So that's one of the reasons why more like UGC stuff works better. Almost all the best ads that you see for physical products, and frankly, probably for info too, on like Meta, very often it's like a lot of like UGC people, like someone like recommending to a friend, like I had this problem, I discovered this thing, like doing a hook, whatever it is, right? And then it's just people, I guess it's almost like people are more protective of their online journey now. And so your advertising has to feel more native to what they're online to do. And that now applies to like every platform, even more so than it used to, I think. Like nowadays, like I just feel like people, yeah, like a Facebook ad to a VSL, same thing. Like the hell? Like what? Like,
yeah. It has
so
to be
kind of
the same modality, right? The
Yeah.
modality in which they saw the ad, same mental modality. If it's a text ad, text page. If it's a video ad, video page, right? But I think like going back to like Eugene Schwartz marketplace sophistication, the buyer sophistication level is rising so much that it feels like that UGC has, I wouldn't say replaced, that's not the right word, but it feels like it's getting there. It's like UGC is kind of trumping the old sensational hooks that we used to play with, right? And maybe I think that's because of marketplace sophistication. They've been seeing so much, they've been promised so much, and they've not been getting the results that they want because of overhype, right? Because we've got to get the click because the click costs so much. That it seems like UGC has become the new or the current trust element that they don't see as hypey or as salesy. I mean, it still is. I mean, places like TikTok, it absolutely is, but they trust it more because it seems like it's coming from a person and not an ad.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And again, we're just everyone's on social media, even more so than 5 years ago, where like 5 years ago, your elderly parents, or not elderly, like boomer parents, like your grandparents or whoever, like weren't on like TikTok, but like now they probably are,
Yeah.
like they're on Instagram because they go wherever their grandkids are, or like what, and so they're just more aware of all these things, and yeah, and then end up following, again, influencers have only increased in popularity in the last 5 years, and people go to social media for like education, for news, for entertainment, right? But entertainment is usually, it can be reading articles, but a lot of time it's like watching channels, watching people they follow, like watching, interacting with creators, right? And so it kind of makes sense that they trust those people more, and they see content that feels like that, like it's a creator, it's like somebody who's, it's just more native to them now than random like faceless landing page with like a big video box, right? Or even on mobile.
Yeah.
Like again, I'm like, what the hell is this? And it's still kind of, again, like, who does it work with? It works with like the oldest people. And it's funny, even if you look at people using clickbait, for the most part, like from what I've seen anecdotally, is like the people they're selling to there are like getting older and older, where it used to be like 50 plus and now it's like 70 plus a lot of the time. So it's like, which is why, again, that's a really shrinking market. And I'm not trying to like, crap on ClickBank. Like I think several people who help run the company are really nice people, and there's still people having success there. But that's where I'm fairly bearish on like the longevity of ClickBank unless they adapt to the times more, bring on more, figure out a way to host more of those types of like, you know, D2C ecom type of funnels and offers and things, because that market's continuing to shrink. And even in the 70 plus, again, there's plenty, my mom's 70 plus and she'll send me links on TikTok and Instagram and things. And, so I just think that universe is shrinking rapidly.
Yeah, you're right. The 50-year-olds of 10 years ago are now 60-year-olds, right? So it's the same pool of buyers. They're just older.
More sophisticated too, but to your point.
Exactly. Which, I mean, at the end of the day, it comes back to copy, right?
I mean, yes, but how do you mean? I want to hear what you mean by that.
Yeah, I mean, it comes back to like the persuasiveness of the copy, right? The structure of the copy, like the old rules of direct response absolutely still apply. They always will. And it's that structure that works, right? So if you're breaking that structure, it's not going to sell as well, right? If you're not using the right sort of persuasive language, it's not going to hit as hard as it should. Like, even though it may be coming from a UGC influencer, or we're going to a text lander instead of a VSL, it still comes back to hitting those emotional buttons, establishing the trust, increasing the desire, increasing the hope. Right? Like, it really comes back to the writing.
Yeah, I think the writing and the messaging, and then in addition to that, this is related, but the other part of that would be like the hooks, right? I think like the hooks are just so important in a world of TikTok and shorter than ever attention spans. It's like that first 5 seconds, 10 seconds is just so crucial to everything. And so whether that is an emotional hook or a curiosity driven hook or whatever, like that, like, it used to be like, oh, the lead's the most important thing, right? You talk about like a video sales letter, but now it's like the hook's the most important thing by far. Like it's like the first 5 seconds, 10 seconds, like, do you have them hooked in? And if you go look at, like, go watch like video ads from like VShred, especially, or Svelte, but like VShred does a really good job of this. I call them like ADHD hook ads, because it's like the amount of hooks, and then visually too, by the way, they're changing like props constantly. There's just like different voices come, an AI voice suddenly comes in a different tone for like a pattern interrupt. Like, it's like just dopamine rush, like hook, like a 6 minute video, the first like 2 or 3 minutes, there's probably like 40 hooks in it. Like, I don't know, like 30 hooks. I mean, it's just like so many hooks. And it's like just bombarding the person to kind of get them hooked enough to keep watching, and get past all those ADHD tendencies of wanting to just scroll to the next thing. It's like you have to keep them hooked for even longer. So that's for sure. It's copy 100%. But it's just, yeah, it's like that first opening hook is just so crucial these days.
You're right. It's become like hook stacking has replaced the lead, right? We used to have 500 words or 5 minutes. And now, like you said, we've got 2 minutes at best, maybe 20 seconds, if not 5, depending on what platform we're really talking about. Because these platforms are different, right? TikTok, we got 5 seconds. YouTube, we maybe got 15. Facebook, maybe we've got 30 seconds. Probably less. So getting that hook right, part of that comes back to understanding the customer, researching the customer. Right? How does the RBC method play into that, where we can really totally understand our customer enough to come up with hooks that we can test? Because at the end of the day, it comes back to always constantly testing.
For sure. So one part of it, as far as like research and understand the customer, so RMBC stands for Research Mechanism Brief Copy. And it's like copywriting methodology I created out of necessity over a decade ago. And then I released it as a course in 2020, like the RMBC method. And so the idea was like, you do research to understand your prospective customer and your target market. You figure out the unique mechanism behind like the solution you're selling. Why is it different from all the other solutions? Why does it solve the prospect's pain point when nothing else ever did? you created like a brief, which was essentially a series of questions you would answer before you go to write copy, because otherwise you'll get stuck when you go to write copy. So it's kind of like, what are their hopes and dreams? Like, what are their short-term pain points? What's the big promise you're going to make essentially in the lead? What's like the big promise you're making about the product? What are like the traditional solutions prospects have used, and why didn't they work? And then you'd write the copy, and there's sort of that traditional sales letter outline or structure. For like RMBC2, it still has those elements in it. But first of all, I use AI for like pretty much everything. So I'm like more of an AI, I don't know if I'm an AI maximalist, but I'm an AI heavy AI user. I don't know the best term for it. So for example, when it comes to research, like you can just use like I've been personally using Gemini 2.5 Pro most often and doing deep research, and I sort of break down that research process into a couple of different components, right? So historically, RMBC1 focused on psychographic research, and that was back to like, what are their deep-seated hopes and dreams and desires and pain points? What do they believe about the world? Like, really went deep, so you could really speak to them on their level, and that's still really valuable. But the first thing is looking at product market awareness, and this is so important on messaging, and I've been on like a soapbox about it recently. Obviously, it's not a new concept, and Eugene Schwartz popularized it back in the 1960s. But I mean, probably was always super valuable, but I don't know. I kind of like stopped valuing it, and then over the last
it was
year or
always
two,
really difficult. Right? It was always really difficult to figure out what that was, even to measure it, even to find the sentiment. Right? You think you knew, but you really weren't sure.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, but now it's a lot easier. So one of like the prompts I teach at RMBC2 is essentially telling Gemini, or you can use ChatGPT or whatever it is, like, I'm looking at these levels of product awareness based on Eugene Schwartz's classic framework for like this product and like this niche, and what I want you to do is go find out what the total addressable market is, like the TAM, and then tell me what percentage of the TAM falls into each of the 5 categories, right? From like unaware to like most aware,
Yep.
And so that alone is really helpful, because again, if you deep research, it's going to go check all these websites, it's going to do analysis, it's going to look at reports. Like it's really valuable. The one thing I do, the tweak or modification I've made and I use in RBC2 is for like most aware. So it goes, I'm probably going to screw it up. I can do it off the top of my head, right? But there's like unaware, and then there's problem aware, and then there's solution aware, product aware, most aware. I think I got that right. Okay, so like unaware is like, I don't even know if I have a problem. Typically hard to sell that person, because if you have a problem, can't sell. Not impossible though. Like I brought this up to somebody the other day too, and I talked about RBC too. So like with something like BizOp, where it's like make money doing this side hustle or thing, like in theory, you can sell to an unaware person, because almost everybody wants more money, right? Like,
right. It's a bigger TAM.
It's a big TAM, right? If you look at it that way. Now, I still wouldn't focus on them when I'm starting out, because it's harder. If you look at, I also like to look at product market awareness on like a horizontal scale. So you've got like unaware and then like most aware, right? Unaware is on the left, most aware is on the right, so everything in between. So it's like if I have to take somebody from unaware to like most aware being like they know about your product, they're thinking about buying, they're kind of ready to go. Like there's a whole giant kind of chasm to cross. The person who's like most aware is the easiest. The problem is for most D2C brands, hardly anybody's most aware. Like you do retargeting, or like someone who's on like abandoned cart, or like a prospect is there, but it's a really small part of your TAM, so you can't really get much scale with it, right? So then if we go to like product aware, where the way Eugene Schwartz has it is that they're aware of your product, right? They're aware of your product and your brand, but they're not like pushed to the edge of like they're really close to making a buying decision. The modification I do to that is that they're aware of like similar products and brands to whatever it is you're selling. And the reason that's an important distinction to me is there's so many D2C brands now that are often selling pretty comparable things. Like if you talk about like a weight loss supplement or an eye serum, or even like a coaching, like make money, or like Airbnb arbitrage I use as an example in RBC2, or like whatever it is, right? Like there's a lot of other, like you're not selling the only eye serum or the only weight loss supplement. And so for me, like I kind of count product awares are aware of like products like yours exist. So what percentage of people are there? It's like very similar. Not just they're aware skincare exists, but they're aware that peptide eye serums exist, for example, right? And then you've got like, solution aware, problem aware, whatever. So this is like, I feel like I kind of went on a tangent on that, but it's so important with research because again, what you tend to find is that the biggest segments of your market are going to be problem aware and maybe solution aware, right? Like, so, and it depends, but like, let's go like skincare, pretty much everyone, it's funny enough, skincare is funny because, okay, almost like 100% of people are solution aware, meaning they're aware that there's like creams and any woman over 18
Right.
knows that there's skincare products, right? But so if we have like, hopefully people are watching the video because I'm doing stuff with my hands and just for YouTube, so I'm figuring that'll be okay. Okay, if you got unaware, problem aware, solution aware, product aware, most aware. Okay, so what's funny is that say like 100% of people are solution aware, but only 60% are problem aware, let's say, right? So maybe 60% are like, yeah, I got eye wrinkles, I don't like my skin, I want to like do something about it, right? 40% are like unaware as far as like having a problem. Like they don't look at the mirror and go, I have a problem, right? And so similar to like with BizOp, but like there it's really hard to sell to someone. If I feel like my skin looks great or I don't have any worries about wrinkles and eye concerns, it's really hard to sell that person. So I really want to be like down to like problem aware and then also solution aware because again, everyone who's problem aware is also solution aware, right? But if I go down to like the peptide eye serum level, for example, it's like there's still a lot of women there's a lot who do, but there's a lot of them who don't really know about peptide eye serums. So if I start talking to them about like, here's why peptide eye serums have failed you. Most peptide eye serums do this and not that. Like they're like, there's a percentage of the market that'll be like, oh, okay, cool, and buy. But there's a huge percentage of the market that's like, I don't like, why are you talking about peptide eye serums? It's not even on my radar. What's on my radar is wrinkles and crow's feet and fine lines and dark circles and dark, like, so you got to talk up here. And so doing that Gemini deep research prompt, like it's really helpful because you kind of figure out the distribution of like where people are. And, typically it'll be in those two segments I just mentioned. And like, you can also, there's other stuff I put in there, but you'll see like, what does it mean that they're problem aware, right? Well, what are the problems they talk about? Like, what are the things that they're thinking about? All that kind of stuff, right? I can keep talking about this forever because it's so interesting. So I'll give you one more example on this. I'll move on to the other parts of research and I can also pause. But now let's turn to like GLP-1s, right? So I'm a co-founder of a telemedicine company, doing pretty well, hoping to sell it or a stake in it. It's kind of a rare one where the vast majority of women, like 90% of women in the US market, in the TAM, are actually product aware, right? They know about GLP-1s. Everybody knows about Ozempic, right? Pretty much everybody knows. Mm-hmm. It's very unlikely at this point already that you're going to talk to some woman who's never heard of Ozempic. And there's actually a pretty high level of like desire for it for a lot of people overweight and all that. So that's a really rare example where like most of our funnels are like historically it's like static ad, short landing page, medical questionnaire that does try to like get them excited about it, but also has qualifying questions to make sure they actually are a good fit. Like check out, doctor reviews it, whatever. So extremely short. We tried advertorials, we tried a VSL for it, things like that, and they didn't do as well because they don't need that because they're just so educated and aware. But that's a rare thing. It's by the way, it's phenomenal. It's one of the reasons why I decided to partner in this business when it got brought to me 2 years ago, because it's one of those like once in a decade type of things where the desire is so high, the market's so huge, it's just like the perfect storm. And then we got in early enough to make it, that's gone well. So yeah, understanding that because you're going to talk to them very differently, right? If I don't know, and I give examples as we were, going like for the eye cream, if everybody knew about peptide eye serums and everyone believed that they were the greatest thing ever, I'm going to talk to them really differently than if they just, most people have like dislike wrinkles around their eyes, but or kind of like know about eye creams, but don't really know about specific solutions or my solution. And so that's one way to approach that. I'll go really fast on these next two. The next one would be like competitive research. Okay, well, what are they already using? What do they like? What do they dislike? If I'm using deep research, I'm like, go scan reviews. What's the USP of each of these competitor products, right? Like What's the big promise they make? What are reviews? Like, what's the sentiment? What do people like about these products? What do they not like? Good to know those sorts of things, going back to existing solutions, what works and doesn't work. And then you go to psychographic research. And I basically took that from the original RMBC and turned that into a prompt. And then you get the deep dive in their own words. What do they say? How are they feeling? What are the hopes and dreams and desires and the secret things in their heart of hearts? And so go to forums, go to Reddit, go to like social signals like on Twitter, like, go find that for me. And then I basically say, hey, Claude or whoever it is, here's these 3 different deep research documents, combine them together in one unified research document that has all of that. Because then when I go to write copy, now I've got this sort of perfect, beautiful, unified research document that I can use that sort of encapsulates everything. So really long-winded answer, but hopefully people find that valuable too. And yeah, so in a way, it's easier than ever to talk to people with the right language. The big difference is like using AI. And I guess we were talking about hooks too, right? And so as you go through that, you will find if you see what people aren't liking, or you're seeing things that they're saying in their own words, or they're seeing like kind of social signals and sentiments and things, like those are a lot of hooks there. And then there are other processes where I'll go to Perplexity and use ChatGPT. Perplexity is actually kind of the best for this one, but I have another prompt that essentially is like, here's this information, here's some examples of hooks I like, right? Because that's good. Now go generate, like, scan, use the internet and find like 100 plus curiosity heavy, like attention grabbing hooks, right? And it generates all these hooks. And then usually, depending on the output, maybe 25 of them out of 100 are really good. Maybe another 25 are pretty good, and then 50 are garbage. But like you get 25 really good hooks, and it takes you 5 minutes.
That's pretty good odds, yeah.
Pretty good, yeah.
Yeah. So you use a number of AI tools then in order to, when you're working on copy and research.
I do, and I talk about that in RMBC too as well. It's sort of because I see people all the time where they're like, "Oh, like Grok 4 is amazing now, so I'm canceling ChatGPT," or they just ask, "What's like the best one to use?" If you were gonna just use one, and it's like
changes too fast, right?
It changes too fast, and by the way, just running the same prompt, even for deep research, for example, on like multiple LLMs is great because you'll get different things. You'll get commonalities, which is cool. And if you notice the commonalities, you're probably like, well, this comes up across the board, probably something to note. But you will find other little insights and tidbits. Or sometimes, like Gemini is great, but it is very long-winded. Like I used it we just bought a Cadillac Escalade because we had another kid and we had family visiting. We're going to Disney in a few days, and I just wanted like a bigger car with more room. So I had bought a car in like 5 years. I used to buy cars a lot, and I'm like, all right, I'm getting an Escalade. But I'm like, hey Gemini, like which dealership, like basically look at all the local dealerships, which one's got the best reviews, what are the different models, like what are like the pros and cons, like essentially do this deep dive for me. And it did, and it was really helpful actually. What's the MSRP? What can I actually expect to pay? Like how much room is there for negotiating? Like it's phenomenal, right? It's so valuable. You go into a dealership and you know what they paid for the invoice price on a car versus the MSRP, and you know what their markup is, and you know their margin. Like I use that anytime I'm negotiating something big. I do deep research, but yeah, Gemini is also like a history of the Cadillac Escalade, the most prestigious American, and it's like you have to go through all this like crap to get to it, but then it gets to the meat, right? So I still don't mind it. Like for a fact finder, I could see maybe driving them crazy, but I like it, right? Perplexity is very like, here's the answer, very like to the point, like no fluff. I do appreciate that about Perplexity. ChatGPT is sort of in between. Like Grok 3, I thought their deep research kind of sucked. I haven't really played with 4 yet. Maybe it's good. Claude's deep research is pretty good, but it's not so good that I'm like, I want to use like Gemini, but or that I don't want to use Gemini. But yeah, I just feel like you have to do that for everything. Even writing copy, like I'll take, even RMBC2, you'll see it. I tend to use Claude for like actual copy outputs, but then I'll even take a VSL I wrote and I'll put it into Gemini 2.5 Pro and be like, hey, I just wrote this VSL. Where do you think there's weaknesses? What do you think? How would you make it better? Like if you're going to write it, for the direct response, and this is going to be direct response, or it's going to be, a video ad. This is an 8-minute one or something like, how do you write it? And then like Gemini might rewrite it, and it might be that I like the Gemini version more, or it might be that I like the Claude version more, except that one part that Gemini did, like about the mechanism or about the lead, was just like so much better. I'm like, okay, cool, I'll take that and Frankenstein it together. So I think you have to be kind of multimodal, or you have to use multiple LLMs. you can get away with using just one, but I think you do yourself a disservice, and just is the way it is, and probably will be that way for quite a while.
Yeah, I feel like it feels like when you're using one for like too long, like as in like the same session or multiple sessions about the same topic, it kind of feels like it starts to get lazy.
Definitely can.
And you're reminding me, oh, I just switched to another one, right? Like just switch because I use Claude a lot. I think it's great for copy, but switching to another one is a great option because I will find that it does feel like it's giving me the same output. Like no, I want more from it, and it's just not giving it to me.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I mean, I think Gemini 2.5 Pro again, like I was not a big Gemini, even like their deep research 1.5, Gemini 1.5. I thought it was all like whatever. And I do think 2.5 Pro is really good. So for people who haven't used Gemini recently, it's worth messing around with it because I'm pretty impressed with how I thought Google was kind of screwed, and I'm not so sure anymore. To be
Yeah,
honest with you, I use ChatGPT the least now. But I know if you look at the usage rate, I'm definitely not the average person. ChatGPT is like dominating the market for usage. And I still think it's great. I don't have anything against ChatGPT. And again, I still will run prompts in ChatGPT as well. But I mostly use Claude and Gemini right now.
yeah. I'm interested to see how ChatGPT 5 is going to change things because that's supposed to be, from what I'm hearing, just light years ahead. There's no release date yet. The earliest I heard was like sometime toward the end of this year.
Yeah, and I mean again, Grok 4, I've used it for a few things so far, but like I don't know, people are like, I need to play with that one more as well. And so again, I think you just have to be adaptable. There's just like at a fundamental level, one of my superpowers is like being very, very adaptable and like pivoting and not becoming rigid or like stuck in my ways. And it's something I really pride myself on. Like I really hope as I get older that I don't become like the stubborn old man, like the old dog who can't learn new tricks. Um, because I feel pretty confident that I'll be able to continue doing that. But with any technological change, it's disruptive for a lot. The reason it's disruptive is because it's not just because it's like a change, it's because people find change to be disrupting, right? And
Right.
so people are in comfort zones, or they don't like change, or they have a hard time processing or handling change. Whereas, again, for whatever reason, I've not ever really had that problem or issue. And but then the thing is, it's only accelerating, right? Like it's only going to be more disruptive. And especially if, when it comes to marketing and these different LLMs and the capabilities, I mean, people are right now, video editing is still like a huge bottleneck, and but the tools that help with that and even creating videos are getting like better and better. Like there's like Creatify, which the founders of that gave us like a bonus thing on. And then I was just using, I haven't looked at the output of it yet, but what is it called? Pumpads.ai, which a friend of mine like made, it's got UGC like sort of creators, and they can hold bottles. I mean, there's probably compliant, you have to sign a bunch of waivers. You're not going to sort of do FTC. I'm sure people will still, but
Yeah.
like the point is like that's going to actually get solved really soon. Yeah, it's cool. I'm actually literally looking at my other screen, and like I know people. I'm not going to play the video, but you want to see it for a second? Should I share it? Was that okay?
Sure.
I'm on
Yeah,
YouTube.
that's fine. You can share
Like,
screen.
so I literally just wrote a script in Claude, and then basically gave it a product image. Now there's this girl holding the product and like talking about it. I won't play the audio of it, but I mean, just for like a pure visual, this is just an AI thing. I literally just uploaded like Claude script. Here's like a no background picture of the product, and now I have this. Right? It's pretty wild, and hopefully the audio sounds good too, and really interesting. So that's gonna get solved too. So then if you're like a video editor, it's just hard. And like the same thing like animators, like we had a animated video we used AI for go kind of viral a year and a half ago. Had like a couple, like a guy and some like anti-AI animator dude shared it on Twitter, and had like I don't know, over 1 million views, a couple million views, and like all these other animators were coming on and like hating me, like like visceral hatred. And my wife had to remind me to have like empathy for them, because again, to them, as most people aren't this flexible with change. but I don't know. I just feel like that's the only way you can be is you just have to be able to adapt quickly. And I just feel like there's going to continue to be opportunities. And when there aren't opportunities anymore, we're going to have bigger problems anyway. We'll either
Yeah.
reach utopia, okay, or like we're going to have really big problems anyway. And so rather than worry about that, could it solve marketing entirely? Like, yeah,
Potentially, yeah, yeah,
maybe in the next three to
yeah.
5 years, right? But
I would
even
like
then,
it
there's
to move.
probably still. Go
I'd like it
ahead.
to move faster. I think it's moving too slow for me. I want to just put the pedal to the metal, and like nobody's going to be happy with that change level that I want,
Nobody.
but I want it to move much faster. But you're right. I think we are going to get there in a lot of respect. In some ways, we are already there, right? In the video you shared, like that's just game changer.
It's
But
crazy.
at the same time, it's like, and I don't think we're there yet, but we will be soon. It's like, what is that going to do to the sophistication level of the customer awareness, like we talked about, right? Then right now, not a lot of customers are aware that you can even do that, or that's even AI. But like, as that becomes more of a general awareness level, then we may see those UGC ads like that start to not work, even if they are real or UI or not UI, AI, because the customer will just be sort of jaded or put off by the speed at which we're moving or the fact that it's not real. They may feel a little disingenuous about the product, about the ad, right? It's going to affect the marketplace in a profound way. I mean, I don't want it to because I want it to just move lightning fast, but I know it is.
I totally agree. I think it's kind of funny because like I sort of got off of building like a personal brand and like I don't know, like I still don't really want to build like a big personal brand, but in general, I like the silver lining to me would be that authenticity becomes more important and more desired and valuable than ever. And so whether that is individual kind of creators or people with personal brands or even the brands that we're all building today, I do feel like the best time to start like to build a brand, again, whether personal or like a D2C or whatever, was like 3 years ago. But the next best time is like right now, type of thing, because I feel like there's going to be so many brands, so much noise, but Coca-Cola is still going to be Coca-Cola.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
and so I feel like you really need to get on it now. If you're a business owner or you're trying to build a personal brand or whatever it is. And then, there's gonna have to be ways to like verify that content's authentic and, you'll, whether that uses blockchain, I mean, we can get really futuristic about it, but,
Possibly. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
but yeah, I think that's gonna be a huge part of it is like authenticity. I mean, I do feel that for certain things, a lot of people aren't gonna mind that stuff's AI. There's gonna be people who are gonna have like AI girlfriends. They're gonna like I talked to an AI like call center agent the other day for like a HVAC thing. And it was great, to be honest with you. It was like way easier. They understood what I was saying more easily than a normal call center person would. I'd have to repeat myself a bunch. I'd have to wait on hold for things. It was like, this is great. I'll talk to an AI agent all day long when I got to call my bank or I got to call something else. Like I'm sorry, I know it's going to replace some jobs or disrupt and displace some jobs because maybe they find other jobs, but like
Mhm.
that's a better experience for me, right? As a consumer. And people will watch AI content, but again, I do think to me, like honestly, I think there's two big futures. Like if you go out 5+ years, one of them is actually probably in the road of offline and experiences. I really think like if I make enough money in the online world, like the huge part of what I would do is just trying to create like offline authentic experiences. Or even if you have a brand, right? Like I think a huge part of a brand is like retreats and in-person events and conferences and things like even for like a skincare brand, right? Like you do things that you bring people together. So this like people are going to crave human to human connection more than ever when it's more convoluted than ever. And so whether that's I think that's like in-person stuff. I think it's also again authenticity with content. And I think that the faster you do that and the more you're known today, the more of a leg up you'll have, even if AI solves marketing entirely, as far as like the optimization, media buying, scaling, all those things go.
You're 100% right. I mean, you and your family are going to one next week, literally, right? One of probably the best in the world, Disney World,
Yeah.
right? And that is a genuine physical experience that you really can't get anywhere else.
Yeah. And you pay a lot of money to do it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's interesting, but see, I guess the difference would be I don't mind like I guess I have the confidence at this phase of my life and career to feel like whatever it is, I'll just figure it out. Like again, because I go back to what I said before about there's always going to be opportunities. They're just going to change and shift.
Mhm.
And the only time there won't be opportunities is when you've got way bigger problems to have. It's like I had a guy like a financial, like a money, like kind of financial advisor guy years ago. And this was probably 2017, like right before my daughter was born. And I was talking about recessions and all this stuff. And I was kind of like, well, should I not invest? Because people are saying that the market's going to collapse, and which, it turns out they say that constantly, and every now and then it does. But he's like, well, yeah, but even if it collapses to the point you're talking about, you're going to have way bigger problems than, losing some money that you invested. And it really was eye opening to me because like, you're right. Like if what I'm saying, like the level where it wouldn't make sense to like invest if I'm doing long-term investing would be like society has completely collapsed and we're, out like living in some Mad Max, like kind of post-apocalyptic world. And at that point, I'm not going to really care that my money went away, because my money will be meaningless anyway. And
Right.
so, same thing here with kind of like, just opportunities around marketing, direct to consumer, brand building, AI, all of that, I feel.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, at the end of the day, if the content is good enough, large majority of people won't care. It's just that kind of what we talked about earlier, that later stage or that older audience group contracting, those are the ones who are going to really care. It's like, oh, this is an AI video. I got fooled or duped, right? But someone, Gen X or younger Gen Z is like, yeah, so what? And that's where the future of the marketplace is, right? That's the buyers that we need to shift to now. Um, and then eventually they'll all age up and all be 60 and then want the same sort of high uh, high selling supplement products that the current 60-year-olds do. Right, but at that point, like, they'll be okay with AI or whatever is next, right? Whatever next iteration we come to past the VSL 5-10 years from now.
Yeah, of course. I totally agree.
It's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out.
Yeah, I totally agree, man. It's fascinating.
Yeah, it really is. So how can we check out more of the RMBC2 method? This is the second version of it, right? So it's new and improved.
Yeah, yeah, it's new. It's yeah, not just improved. It is a totally new course because I had some people who bought RMBC one. And they're like, well, why don't we get it for free or a discount? And I'm like, it's a whole new course. I spent like hundreds of hours on it, and it happens to use some of the RMBC method, but it's totally different. It's like AI is all essentially everything I learned in the last 5 years, how everything shifted and changed, and where things are today. And I would hope a lot of what I'm sharing continues to be valid to come. I'm also doing updates for like at least the next year on it. But if you just go to my website, stefanpaulgeorgi.com, I had my team put this like really big banner right underneath my face. It says RMBC2 method now available. Click here to get all the details. So Stefan, Stefan, Paul, Paul, Georgi, Georgi.com. And you click on it, you'll go to like a little sales page for it, and you can check it out. And obviously, if you don't check it out, appreciate those of you who watch this and consume the content, and I hope to help. I hadn't put out like a new course in 5 years. I did like little bundles and trainings, but not like a full on course. And I don't want to be like a guru. Like I've got my besides the fact that maybe I should build more of a personal brand so that it's easier when AI comes. I don't know. It's tough. It's constantly conflicting. But in general, I'm really happy scaling D2C brands and things. But I really wanted to just. There's so many people who are so behind on things, I feel, and I really wanted to help give them a chance that if they follow what I teach in there, whether they're a copywriter, or a freelancer, or a business owner, whatever it is. It really it helps them to just be way more productive, more effective, and have more opportunities, and hopefully leads to really exciting outcomes for them.
I'm sure it will. There'll be a link in the description as well if anybody's looking for it.
Cool. I appreciate that, man.
Yeah, no worries. Stefan, thank you so much for coming on. It was a blast.
Yeah, thanks for having me.